Dinner Bell is the Queen's Challenge submission from the team of Vivek Singh, Robert Feldman, Paul Maeda, and Ramnath Kumar. Let's get straight into implementation. This is an app that will send people push notifications when food prices are more affordable and when food prices are more expensive. The app uses a predictive model to make predictions about when people can go to grocery stores for items like meat that can be too expensive for low-income families, and when they can avoid those higher-priced items and go for a meat alternative. Now, the app uses publicly available data to make these predictions. We'll get more into that later. And the app also creates data. It's a source of data, and that's how we plan to have this app be cost neutral. For all the money that goes into developing and running it and promoting it so people use it, that money will come back in the form of licensing the data about people's usage of the app. Will this respect people's privacy? Yes, we believe that's a key component of leveraging open public data in smart cities. Food deserts are a challenge affecting millions of people living in cities and semi-rural areas. A food desert is characterized by a lack of access to affordable grocery items and a prevalence of cheap and unhealthy convenience store food, usually starchy, sugary, salty, and lacking in nutrients. Many studies have been done and many initiatives undertaken to combat the spread of food deserts, but really it speaks to a practical problem that low-income and no-income people face all the time. How much money do you have to spend at the grocery store? Do you have a car to take those groceries back to your residence? Do you have a working kitchen? Do you have pots and pans? Do you have cooking knowledge? If you have all those things, then you can affordably and economically shop for healthy food and prepare it for you and your family. But if not, if you face time constraints, ability constraints, knowledge constraints, technology constraints, then you can be stuck in a food desert choosing to eat the same cheap and ultimately unfulfilling foods all the time. Meanwhile, healthy foods are very expensive. Now, let's talk about data and algorithms. The thing that is being predicted by our algorithms is the price of beef, the price of chicken, the price of swine, and ultimately the prices of these meats in the grocery store. Now, meat consumption raises an ethical question. Is it right to raise and slaughter animals? And it raises an environmental issue. Is it acceptable to raise and slaughter animals considering the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the activity? And finally, a health concern. Is eating meat really healthy for human beings? Now, of course, meat is a nutritious and a delicious food, but the main causes of death in urban areas in developed countries are heart disease and stroke, which are exacerbated by clogged arteries, in turn caused by excessive fatty meat consumption. However, we believe that in moderation, meat should be encouraged as part of the diet for people who are within food deserts and who face challenges buying affordable meat at grocery stores. Now, how have we built these algorithms, and what data are we using? Well, some of our data comes from publicly available sources like indexmundi.com, where commodity prices can be ranged and compared over a number of years. And of course, we took steps to clean and organize this data, merging different files, creating giant spreadsheet files, and checking that currencies were always being displayed similarly and things were being compared of equal type and equal measure. Once we had robust data sets, then we look to create not just a simple linear model, but a higher order model to try and reflect how real world commodity prices affect grocery store prices that urban city dwellers might see. Now take, for example, the idea of a cattle farmer who feeds his cattle a diet of soy and corn as inputs. Now you might predict that when soy and corn increase in price, then raising beef becomes more costly and the cost of beef will increase as a result. And this is generally true, but with a twist. See, cattle farmers, when faced with rising cost inputs, often choose to send more animals to slaughter so as to not have to feed them expensive feed. And that leads to a temporary dumping on the market. As in, you will see lower beef prices in response to higher feed prices only for a short time, and then a commensurate rise in beef prices. And how do you capture that in a model? By using a higher order model. So the input of soy, for instance, would cause two things to happen because there would be two elements in the algorithm. The first is that a linear term would send the price down, and the second is that a squared term would raise the price. So when the more powerful squared term overpowers the linear term, that shows the temporary dumping is over and then the price is going to rise. So let's talk about a situation like this taking place and how it would affect the users of our Dinner Bell app. When the model predicts the price of beef will dip temporarily and then rise, the Dinner Bell app sends two notifications. The first says, now is a good time to buy meat at the grocery store. You can even freeze it. Here is a link to a recipe. Later on, the second notification will come, and it will say, now is a good time to buy beans and tofu and affordable meat alternatives. Here are some recipes for that because the price of beef is moving up. Now, how much influence this will have over people's purchase decisions? At first, we can't know. But hopefully, after implementation, we will look at the data generated by the app and see how much impact this is really having. But for now, our focus has been on taking the inputs of data, looking at commodity tables, and building not just correlation models, but higher order models that show some of the subtle interplays that can take place in the real world involving food prices. In conclusion, we've all heard about a lot of initiatives, private businesses targeting wealthy Western people. The Whole Foods acquisition by Amazon, Grocery Gateway, Instacart, and personal shopping services, ready-made pre-chopped ingredients, and other services that charge a high price but provide a high level of convenience and health and specificity. These services are great for the people they target, but there is nothing out there that is an empowering tool for low-income and fixed-income people, as well as the institutions that cook for them en masse. Our hope is that the Dinner Bell app, if properly marketed and spread, can have a wide-ranging impact and can encourage people to adopt better eating choices and also to save money and to budget better. Thank you so much for listening and considering our innovation.